Hey, David T.S. Wood here, and welcome to My Extra Mile, the network marketing 6-week series. Welcome back. I just want to do my typical disclaimer for this series. If you are not a network marketer, this may not be the show for you, but if you are looking to have a side hustle business, if you're looking to expand your income, expand your impact, expand your heart, and expand your mind, then probably you really want to look into the profession of network marketing. This is a 6-week series. This is week number 5. So if you haven't started from the beginning, go back. The company we're talking about is Isagenix. It's the company I truly believe in. I've been partnered with for 16 years. But if you're not an Isagenix, but you are a professional network marketer or a beginner, welcome. You can learn from these leaders, and this is our profession. So if we all get better, it's good for the entire profession. So welcome. And those of you who really are sort of unsure, you're not sure whether you really want to get into it, or if you have a mindset around network marketing, like, is that a pyramid? If you say that, you simply don't understand that, that's completely illegal. And probably you're broke and you're still looking. So don't let the thoughts of other people or the limitations of other people take you out, because these two ladies are true professionals. They're going to be talking about the power of events and how to utilize social media by building that personal brand. So again, regardless of whether you're into network marketing or not, you still can learn some social media skills from these two rock stars, the incredible Jennifer Trinkner and Krystal Morrison. Enjoy. I know everyone is so excited about this week with our guests because social media and events, and especially around the whole social media world, we have two, and I don't want to use the word experts. Let's just use a better word. Two incredible women that get incredible results in their social media. And we're going to unpack that for you so you can do that. So ladies, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great.
Thank you. So good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I thought we'd start with some fun. I'll be doing this week over week, just so people can understand. So Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. When I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to do the best you can to keep it under 90 seconds, your answer. And the question is this: why network marketing? Why network marketing? Are you ready? 90 seconds, go.
Why network marketing? Okay, so I came in for the products. I didn't really have a clue about network marketing. I fell in love with the products, and within 5 days, I knew I'd found something that was going to be life-changing for me. And then a couple months after using the products, I opened my eyes to the opportunity, because I was closed-minded. I was like, don't talk to me about business. I don't want a business. But when I went to an event, and we're going to talk about going to events, it was like my eyes were open, right? I mean, I just knew that I was in the right place with the right company. And why network marketing? Because I love the freedom. I love the freedom that this industry allows. I love Isagenix. I love our culture. The products are life-changing. My whole family has experienced life-changing results on these products. And I love making an impact. I love showing people an opportunity to have the freedom that they're looking for in their lives as well. So it's just been the best thing I've ever done. And it excites me every day to wake up and have the opportunity to bless somebody else's life.
I love it. I love it. You sort of crossed over between network marketing and Isagenix. It was that kind of a dance, which I think a lot of people is. They don't come into the profession always. But, Krystal, I'm going to ask you this question because, again, you're both successful prior to Isagenix. And I would say you could both be successful in any profession you chose, but you've chosen this. So Krystal, the same thing. Why network marketing? What is it about this profession, especially with what you know today? Why is this such a cool and viable and vibrant option? Ready? 90 seconds, no pressure, go.
I agree. I was not open to it. But and I'm sure I'll share my story later, but since becoming a network marketer, where else on earth can I earn triple what I used to earn in my full-time cubicle that I was not content in, and traded that for getting to be home with my first baby and now my second baby, and having zero person, zero boss, anyone telling me where I need to be. I don't have to bring them to a daycare. I get to create my own schedule. And so what other career would allow me that kind of life? There just isn't one. So that to me is everything. When I think about looking back on my life and what matters, it's not that I went to my cubicle every day. It's that I found this vehicle that gave me the freedom and the choice to give to my children every part of me that I wanted to, and just help me to be available. So that's like the A piece of it. I'm probably at like a minute. So the other piece of it is who I have become, because the money is amazing. The choice is amazing. The freedom is amazing. But I wasn't becoming a better person in my cubicle either. I wasn't forced to become a leader. I wasn't forced to step into any sort of greatness. I was just kind of sticking in the middle, just under the radar, collecting my paycheck. And so to be in a career that forces me to continually level up and to ask myself, this is what I'm getting in my business, so who am I being, was annoying for me when I started. But now it has helped me grow into a person that I'm in love with. And I just think that's more valuable than any job that I could have ever found. And that's why it's more than a job to me. It's truly my profession of choice, and one I'm so, so proud of.
Love it. I love the fact you use the word proud. I love the fact that, it's just so much more than a job. But you said something which I don't hear a lot of women who haven't done a lot of personal development, or the fact that they're in love with themselves. Jessica, how many women have come through your business or are part of your team? And I know that, you've helped a lot of people. You have a massive team. But that whole idea about falling in love with ourselves is one thing. But on week 2, that was a great show where we really dug into the areas of belief. And I spent a lot of time there with our 2 leaders. But one of the areas of belief, which I really think are important, is knowing that you put your ladder against the right wall. So I'm going to ask you one other question in 90 seconds. And back to you again, Jessica, the idea about why, I know you talked about the products, but now with what you know, how many years have you been in Isagenix, Jessica?
9 years.
I said Jessica.
9 years.
Jennifer, 9 years. So, with that, why Isagenix from your perspective now as being a part of this, embedded in this, and, seeing the good, the bad, and because there are peaks and valleys and plateaus, but 90 seconds again, why Isagenix? Ready? Go.
Why Isagenix? I feel good here. When I made a decision to do this, I am not a quitter. I've never have been. And I've never been distracted by anything else. I have just remained, just loyal to what I'm doing, loyal to my team. I can't imagine going somewhere else and having the excitement and the ability to really make an impact in the lives like I'm doing now. So it's my forever home. And I said that when I joined, it's my forever home. I will never go anywhere else. And I'm so grateful that I found this vehicle, Isagenix, and I just look forward to, many more years with this company.
Yeah. And we're so lucky. I always say that really what makes us great is the quality of our leadership. And, a lot of people join and again, when you look at Krystal, what you just said about who you've become, and I see that, the best version of ourselves, the best mothers and friends and lovers. And it's kind of like, this emergence of who we are. But Krystal, same thing. Last time I asked one of these fast fire questions, but if you have to sort of let someone, especially remember that new people are listening, they don't know who the heck we are. They don't even know who you are really. Some of them, they're brand new and they're looking at you, but that question is in their mind. Why Isagenix? Why would I make this place my home? So Krystal, 90 seconds. Ready? Go.
So why Isagenix? For me, the first why is the fact that Jennifer and myself had zero interest in network marketing, but we both had such remarkable results with the products that we were customers and we knew we would put these products in our body for life. So I don't know a lot of companies that offer that sort of consumable product where even before I was open to network marketing, there was no way I wasn't going to order each month. That's magic right there. So I love that. And then Isagenix itself, they are always, I feel the same about them as I do network marketing. They're always striving to become a better version than they were this year. So they're always on top of everything when it comes to making our products relevant in the marketplace, and then having all of the business tools. I literally, and we'll share about this today, but there's a resource, isagenixbusiness.com, that has everything a person could imagine to build their business. So if a hungry person comes into this business and they want to make this work and they don't know anyone that's done it, they can if they're focused. And so having all those resources there for us is phenomenal. And next is the community. They're walking into events and seeing, that's not something we've been able to do recently, but we've had all these virtual events, and just feeling the pride for the company, the love that starts at the top with the Cougars and just trickles down through the corporate staff and into everyone in the field, just fills my heart. I love going to events because I feel the community, and we have that in our teams too, because that's what's taught. You know, we all feel like a family, so we bring that community feel. And lastly is the compensation plan. I still, when I first started, and even to this day, I have friends in other companies and they're like, you don't earn that much. There's no way. And I'm like, listen, sister, I don't know if I would earn what I earn if I was in your company, because this is my first company. So the compensation plan is so brilliant, even for somebody who didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah. And none of us did when we started. So, you know, you talked about events 3 or 4 times. I am going to come into your story as we go along. So for those of you that don't know our 2 beautiful ladies here, I'll get into their story in a bit, but you just mentioned events so many times there. And I don't know who wants to but I think about that, events, because a lot of people, when we hear the word events, they think about getting on a plane and going to a hotel and going to an event. And obviously, anyone who's been around our company will tell you that our event culture is second to none. And you walk into an Isagenix live event and it is crazy. But we have lots of types of events. And I wonder if you can maybe, and you guys can, you know, both of you can share on this, but if we had to define what are events, what are events? Are they just when we go to a live event, or what are events? Can you just talk about that?
You want to go?
I didn't pick on either one of you. I just thought I'll see who went, but I can pick on you if you want.
It's so hard on Zoom. We're like reading the body language. Like, here you go.
All right, Jennifer, start with you, and then I'll go to just so what is so that people get this kind of bigger picture. What are events? I mean, is it like when I go to a coffee shop, or is it like, what is an event?
So an event is really an opportunity for you to experience Isagenix, like on every single level, to learn more about the company, the products, the compensation plan, but to feel the culture of what we have here. And I tell you what, if I had not gone to an event, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I went early on to a Super Saturday, and that's when I really had my eyes just wide open and heard such incredible stories of people's transformations, their financial success. And I just knew I was in the right place. So then my next event was in YKO. And, you know, it was very different. I had not ever been to any kind of event like that. And, you know, I just really didn't know what to expect, but I walked away from that event just fired up. And that's what it is. They're there to inspire you, to motivate you, to teach you, to just, you know, get you going. And that's what it did for me, because I left that event and I was on fire, and I have been ever since. So, and I remember being at that event, and I had 2 people there, and, you know, other leaders were talking about teams, and I just didn't really understand anything about that. But I left that event and said, I'm going to have so many people at this event next year. And I did. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And we talk about events all the time. We promote events, and they are just, you know, it really just opens your eyes to what Isagenix is all about.
Yeah. And before we move on to, 'cause I want to ask you a question, Krystal, more about, obviously Jennifer's talked about her first event. But that was kind of a physical event. But I want to get into, because obviously during COVID right now, there are many types of events that we can still do the same things. We say it's not the same, but if this stayed like this for the next 2 years, then it can be the same. We can make it whatever it really wants to be. But before we go on, Jennifer, can you give us a little peek into the world you had before you went to that first event? Because here you are, you're saying you're not interested, you're not looking for a business, and but the products gave you something that sort of woke you up. But that first event, something happened at that event that got you really to sort of start seeing this as truly a path, which you're on now, which you said you're never ever going to leave. But give us a peek into the world before. What was the world like for you prior to network marketing and Isagenix? What were you up to?
Well, I'm a mom of two, and at the time I was just kind of helping my husband in his dental practice, helping with his lecture schedule. I was modeling, but just never feeling fulfilled. Never feeling like I was making an impact, which is what I longed for and what I had prayed for years. So I really felt like, when this opportunity came to me, that it was just an answered prayer for me. And I just knew, when you just know what you know, it was, and then I went to that event and it was just no looking back. It just lit me up.
Yeah, we're so lucky. Krystal, I want you to sort of talk about your first event, because I know it was the same for you. I think this was a landmark moment. And then just sort of share, what are some of the other events, especially today, that you have, which isn't like, again, getting on a plane, going to a hotel. What kinds of events are available for Isagenix people right now, so that they can get the things that Jennifer just talked about, which is that culture and the understanding and the vision and seeing what we really are and who we are, and especially the culture part. But take us back to your first event and share a little bit about that.
So I was invited, because I was a product user for 5 years, I was invited to just casually to many events, and was always a hard no, not interested. And I still remember it was a Super Saturday and I had brunch plans, and I was like, why would I even consider canceling my brunch to go to a hotel room? And but for whatever reason, there was something in my gut, and I said to my husband, I really think I need to go. I just need to see what's here, and then I can either just stop thinking about it or do something. So it was a Super Saturday in a hotel here in Kelowna, and I walked in and I felt community. I felt love, which again wasn't something I was getting when I was working for the government. And so right away, and I was pleased with the fun vibe too, right? It was a fun place. I was like, this is better than brunch. And then I heard stories. So to me, it was the stories that moved me, because I really, when I thought of network marketing, I thought of the old, whatever it is, say a cosmetic company. And I just thought, oh, you just drive around town and you sell a mascara and you made $2 and you spent $5 in gas. That was sort of my story about network marketing. So when I heard people that had worked in government like myself, that were entrepreneurs in the past like myself, when I heard people like me saying that they had found success, they didn't tell me how in that moment, but they shared their story. And that really impacted me, because I saw myself in them. And I really was sitting there thinking, well, if they did this, I can do this. And that just lifted that belief in me to be hungry enough to ask the how. So it was definitely learning their story, lit up in me. And then again, because it was a Super Saturday and it was a bit longer, they shared the how. So I left there with a how and the belief that if they could do it, I could, and then some tools to get going. And so bringing that into events now, because we were talking about that, Jennifer and I, there's not a lot of Super Saturdays or anything like that anymore. So what I love is still staying plugged in online. And that's the other thing that I just appreciate so much with Isagenix, is since everything's shifted, they have delivered so many calls. You could be on a call every day if you wanted to. And so really plugging into what they're providing. They just did a call, I forget what it was called. I think it was called Isa Life Mastery a few weekends ago. I'm sure you guys were on that. And I I remember calling my team and being like, I feel like I just signed up. Like, I feel like I'm just getting started. I was so fired up. So it didn't matter that it was in person. It mattered that it was stories that inspired me, that I was present. And that, so they inspired me. It was new stories, and they gave me tools. And I had new people on that same call that felt the same. So being able to duplicate it online, they've done a great job. And then us ourselves as leaders, we now have that Isagenix deck that's on isagenixbusiness.com, where we can download that full presentation and present that. So we can create our own little opportunity meeting, Super Saturdays, and we don't need to rely on corporate to do that for us either, which I think is so empowering. So we've got both those options, and we can do it as fast as we want. We could do one of those presentations once a week or once a month, depending on how fast we want to go. So I love that for creating events now. And then we usually do little in-home events with the community that's local. And we've always had a global team. So we would Zoom in people that weren't local as well. And it was still really powerful. So I think just finding ways to include as many people as you can.
I don't want to interrupt for a sec. I love the idea. What you're saying is that even though you got a little home event, you may have someone from Australia or a couple of people from different parts of the world who are all zooming in. So you've kind of created a sort of a double whammy. It's kind of a virtual kind of event, but because you guys are sitting around the couch, you've got that feeling of being together, which I think there's an energy that's quite different than just all sitting on the computer when you're talking to a group. That's awesome. Can you take us back a little bit, Krystal, just to give us a look into your world prior to network marketing and Isagenix? What was going on for you? And I'm sort of fascinated why the products had such a big thing for you, what you were like, because you look so healthy and vibrant. I'm sure people looking at you saying, oh yeah, what does she need the products for? But both of you, by the way. But just talk, what was your world like? Who were you before Isagenix?
So before Isagenix, I was working full-time. I had dabbled in real estate as an entrepreneur and did not enjoy it. I left that, and I had gone back. I'd previously done schooling for working in IT. And so I'd gone to work for the government, and I was working in IT and as a business analyst. And I enjoyed it to the ability that I knew how to enjoy something. Like, it was my normal, right? So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't this, But so that was my work life. And I had struggled for years. I was every single, probably quarter, I was starting a new program, whether it was, the Whole30 or Atkins. And I just always had about 20 extra pounds on me. My face was very bloated. I always felt inflamed. And I would get home. I was single at the time. I didn't have kids to worry about, and I would get home at 5 p.m. I'd be on the couch, and that was my life. I was a zombie, and I didn't really know what I was missing, and I would do it all again. And so I just feel like I was really sort of just living in this little comfort zone, but I knew I wasn't happy. And so when my girlfriend Courtney tried the products, she looked phenomenal, and it was strictly physical. I was like, I want to look how you look. I was like, who's the trainer that you've been working with? Because previous to that, I was working out 6 days a week. I was doing everything properly, but I just wasn't seeing results. So my connection with results was always around really killing my body in the gym. And so when she was like, no, I just tried this cleanse, I was like, okay, well, give me that. And so I put it in my body, and within 30 days,
I'm loving watching Jennifer laughing. It's like, yeah. It's so good. Yeah, carry on.
And like we all know, like within 30 days, I felt like a different human. I was going out and being more social. I was making plans after work. I was running on my lunch hours. And I felt so good. And because I saw the physical changes, I lost some pounds in my 30 days that all of a sudden my clothes were too big for me, and my face started to feel less inflamed. And I just felt like this is what I've been working so hard for years to feel like. And so I felt an immense amount of freedom from the products and ease. So I just knew that was how I was supposed to feel. And then that became my new normal as far as products. And then I kept going to my cubicle every day for a few years.
Yeah. Awesome.
I just have to say, like that, your story is amazing and it lights me up. And this is why I love what we do. I love to hear these stories. And, because I was miserable prior to Isagenix too. I was struggling with a lot of, digestive things, low energy, just not sleeping well. And, it's like when it gets in your body, when Isagenix just gets into you, it's like you're just you're lit up. And I love that. I mean, the stories are what I love most about Isagenix.
So talking about that, let's go back to the event thing, right? So Jennifer, why don't you talk to us about what kind of events are you doing currently? And if we've got brand new people right now who are watching us. There are people that have started and are new and learning. So what I want to do is give them maximum value about sort of what kinds of events could they be thinking about right now? How do they practice them? And then how do we invite people? Because that's really going to be important. How do we invite and promote? But let's start in the beginning. What kind of events are you teaching or are you duplicating in your team that are really working for you right now?
Well, first and foremost is we promote any, corporate events because those are, a big deal. And then within my, Facebook group, we have a lot of people doing different things in there. We have a team call every day. Once in a while, we'll have like a live Facebook. One of the leaders will get on Facebook and interview someone. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And then in-homes are still, a lot of people still do those with small groups of people. But I've built most of my business using social media. And then, this is all new to us. All the virtual stuff is very new. So, we're just plugging people into our team calls. And like I said, we're doing the live on Facebook occasionally. So that's kind of what we've been doing and it's working really well.
Yeah. And we're going to get into the social media, which I know a lot of people are excited about. But Krystal, do you want to talk about that then, with the events you're doing right now that are working for you? And again, it's specifically about someone sitting there saying, I want to do something, I just don't know what to do. Give them sort of a pathway or something they could be practicing or duplicating in their teams currently.
So the events, I always check isagenixbusiness.com for the upcoming events. Right now they have one coming up this weekend, I believe. But so there's just usually something coming up in the next month. So I'll always rally my team and plug into that. And then if it's a bigger event, it'll be on a weekend. So we'll set up a Zoom and watch it together or just all be on Facebook chatting and taking selfies of like, that was great information and posting and just really showing that we're there and we're still learning because we still have a lot to learn. So I definitely think leading from the front is the most important thing. Like never thinking that I don't need to be at an event because I have anything figured out and really showing everyone that that's always in my calendar. It's always a priority. So definitely always taking from corporate. And then for me, one of the things that I love to do was when I was first starting, I like accountability. And I believe anyone can do this because you could do this sideline or cross line or downline. But when I first started, as soon as I had one real runner, because we know that there's a lot of people that say they want to do the business and then they don't want to even get on the phone. So when I had my first person that was showing up for calls and really wanting this as badly as me, we started doing little mini trainings in our homes. And so that's something I can still do where I live. And I know a lot of places can't, but so that's what I did is it started with just me and one other person or me and two other people. And we would get together and we would just work through isagenixbusiness.com and really make sure we were mastering our skills and working on our confidence. But again, if I didn't implement that into my schedule on a Saturday or a Sunday or an evening, it wasn't going to happen. Like I know myself enough to know that I can use accountability and so can my leaders that are starting. So that's one thing I did in person that I loved. And then all of a sudden it grew to having like 20 people in my living room, like people that wanted real business builders that wanted to do the business, that were hungry for information. And it just lit me up. So what I'm doing is I'm doing that online now. So I can do the same thing with Zooms. So I believe it doesn't matter if it's one person or 20 people or 100, just rallying your team to like, let's learn a skill however often you can commit to. Maybe it's once a week, once a month, but just going first and planning that and not waiting for corporate to have something. Because they're not going to plan our entire business for us. That was really empowering for me when I learned that. Like, this is up to me.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the beauty of our profession, right? We get to do it our own way and put our own spin. I mean, if I was to have a camera on both of you, you're both incredibly successful, but, you know, and you have a lot of similarities, but you go about it your own way. You know, Jennifer, at the end of the day, we are promoters, and we want to be inviting people, whether it's a training or whether it's an in-home or whether it's to come to New Year's kickoff or to another event, celebration, whatever it is. Talk to me about that process, because a lot of people struggle there. They know that if someone comes to the event, like both of you got to an event, and it changed the path for both of you. And I mean, Jennifer, I just think, I mean, what you're a 15-star platinum, 17-star, or is it 17? 19-star executive. I mean, which is incredible, which means you've helped a tremendous amount of people. In fact, let me ask you this question. How many people are in your global team currently? Do you know the number?
95,000.
So you're getting paid on 95,000. So let's do a little bit of math here, just for you new people listening. So you people watch this. How many people have you personally enrolled?
About 600.
So you're getting paid on 95,000. You enrolled 600. That's good math, right? That's good math. That's the power of duplication. That means that you've really done what we're about to talk about really well. And you've chosen to promote a lot or build online. Both of you use the online mechanism, which is where we're going to spend the majority of this training. But how many conversations have you had, Jennifer? Do you remember sort of basically, if you could ballpark it, only 600, say 600 said yes?
A lot of a lot of conversations.
Thousands possibly, or
oh yeah, for sure.
Thousands of people. And you know, obviously we can get into the nuances of what a no means and all that. Obviously that's not what we're going to do today. But you know, so you know, you've built this really beautiful dynamic business, but how do you train someone to promote events? What is the key? What are some of the do's and don'ts of promoting that really work, and the things you teach?
Well, first and foremost is, you know, you got to lead from the front. You got to show up. You know, you got to show up. Nobody's going to come to events if you yourself don't go to an event. Nobody else is going to go. So you got to show up as a leader as you want to be, and as you want to attract. So for me, it's about having those conversations and getting on the phone with people, and people being excited about what they're going to experience, and if you've been to an event, what you've experienced at these events. I mean, we want people to experience Isagenix, the whole thing, including the events. So for me, it's about having those conversations. Voice messages, I use voice message all the time on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, because I want people to hear my excitement. You know, they can't hear your excitement if you're just typing a message or, hey, will you come to this event? They want to hear your excitement in your voice. Enthusiasm.
You know what I'm going to do right now? We're going to pretend that you're leaving one of those messages about, let's say, this event. All right. So we're going to promote this event. All right. What kind of message? So someone could hear it. So, I mean, they don't have to be you, but you're about to leave a message for someone about this event. And just give us an example. How does it sound?
Hi, David. You know, we are having this amazing event coming up where you're going to learn so much about what I've been up to and Isagenix. And I just really thought about you. I think it'll really resonate with you a lot. Can I count on you to be there?
So
it's short. Can I
Yeah.
count on you to be there? You
Awesome.
know, and of course I would give the details of it, but you want to ask for their commitment to be there.
Yeah. And that's what
Not just leave it open-ended. Like, can I count on you? They're like, yeah, I want to check it out. Right.
That's what I really love about the nuance of that little accountability piece at the end, because I threw you right under the bus there. Like, do it. He's like, whoa, right? You know, with a pretend event. Yeah. But the idea is like that what your natural nature is. Okay. And can I count on you to be there? And I love the language. Can I count on you to be there? So back to you then, Jennifer. So when you're promoting then, you use a voice text, but the excitement, the fact you're going to be there and what they're going to get out of it. Anything else?
Well, I was going to say, you know, for every single event, we're using our Facebook group too, and we promote the event within our Facebook group. And, you know, it's a big deal because we have a very large team and everybody shows their excitement about going. And I think that's a big part of it, you know, is just not being in this on your own, like having, you know, once you do have a team, you'll experience that. And it's exciting. You want people to show up and experience what you've experienced.
Yeah. And Krystal, what about with that brand new person? I can think about that brand new person who doesn't have a team. They look at it, both of you two, and you look so well put together and so confident and so clear. And they're like, you know, they're working full time. They've got 4 kids and they're like just barely thinking they can do this. What's, you know, how do they get excited? What's some advice you have to that brand new person who's going to promote an event? You know, how do you coach someone who doesn't feel that confidence yet, or even that belief yet?
So I always think about how would I invite somebody to a party, right? And so one of the things I see a lot, and I'll even have people send me their messages in my team if they're not getting a lot of people showing up, and it's in our nature to be so accommodating and sort of unsure. So a lot of messages when we're just getting started or have maybe even been in a while is they go something like, oh, hey, I just wanted to tell you that there's this event next weekend and I think it'll be okay. And I don't know, maybe if you're not busy, you can come and, you know, it'd be great to see you there and let me know. And that's the posture and the urgency that people are portraying. And I just, like, if it was a party and I called you, Jennifer, and I was like, hey, Jennifer, I'm going to this party at my girlfriend's and it might be okay, and I don't know, maybe if you're not busy, you'd want to come. You would have 500 other things to do. So right. We often think it's like, oh no, they don't want to come, or they rejected me, but it's like, how are we portraying it? And so I think about the party. How do most people invite to a party? They're like, hey, Jennifer, I'm going to this party on Friday. It is going to be insane. I heard they have a chocolate fountain. Can you even believe it? And they're going to have goodie bags. Like, if I don't get one of those goodie bags, I'm going to lose my mind. And that's how we live our lives.
That's great.
Right? But then with Isagenix, so that's how I don't bribe people with chocolate fountains, but I
was going to say, I'm going. When is
yeah, you're coming. So I really, a new person, just really thinking, what is the value? And so really getting that clear before you invite, really being certain that this person should be there. So, and promoting it again, knowing that you're not like a piece of paper that's an invitation or just a message that you just send to 100 people. It's really putting your values and your mission into the message. So saying to someone, Jennifer, I'm going to this event on Friday. I'm so excited. I've been working so hard to change my financial future. And I know that you can benefit with either these products or this financial opportunity. And I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't invite you. It would mean so much if you would come with me. And especially a new person, I always love to say, I'm really nervous to go. And I would love some support. I would love for you to come with me and be my friend and just sit there so I don't feel so nervous. So I love to bring that in. If you are brand new and feeling like you don't quite have that certainty, just be like, hey, can you just come with me and listen and let me know if I'm crazy or not? You know?
That's good. I love that. I love that.
We all know she's crazy. Jennifer, do you want to add anything to this? Because I can see you really reacting. I mean, it's just like what it feels like. And I'm sure as we get into the social media part, this authenticity piece, just being who you are. And just like, if you start thinking about, if I was invited to a party, how would I sound? What would I do? Versus,
exactly.
You know, in your head and with a script, I'm going to invite you to a party. But Jennifer, any thoughts about what Krystal shared?
Well, I love everything that she shared. And, you know, it really is about your excitement and your enthusiasm. It's everything. It really is everything. And even when I'm getting, you know, before I'm getting ready to do a call, I want to make sure that I'm in the right headspace. So I get myself excited, whatever that is. I might just turn on some like crazy music and just get excited because maybe something happened 20 minutes before and it wasn't so exciting and it got me in a bad mood. You want to be excited when you're on the phone with people, when you're talking about things. And, you know, I'm excited a lot because I love Isagenix. So posture is everything. How are you showing up? How are you talking to people? Is it, you know, are they going to want to join you? Think about how you're going back and forth and what that dialogue sounds like when you're inviting people or when you're on the phone. Is it exciting or is it kind of dull? Because that really is. It's a big, big part of it.
I love that. And, you know, like right before you came on the show right now, I call it a show, but hi everyone, you're on a show. But you were like, you were dealing with something with your daughter is not feeling well. She had to go for a test, and so you're running, but you're here. And I want to talk about that ability to switch, because what you're saying right now is life is there, and suddenly you're going to make a voice text to someone or call someone, invite them to an event or a party or a gathering of some kind, virtually or not. But being able to sort of transfer your energy and be able to sort of move from one energy to another. Do you both have tips about that when the kids are making all the noise and you're feeling crazy and you feel like a vodka's the only way out? What's a tip you have for an energy shift, for a mind, when you really want to shift that energy and shift your mind? Either one can go first.
Well, I'll go first. I will just take a walk outside and just take some deep breaths. And I have 2 dogs and I love to watch them play. So I'll get out there and just play with them for a few minutes. But it really boils down to a decision, a decision to change your mindset. And that's really what it is. You always have a choice, and, life is life, but it's always a choice and a decision to shift, your mindset. And it's very easily done if you just decide to do it.
Yeah. And with a little practice. What about you, Krystal? How do you, you're a busy mom, 2 young kids, right? You got a business that's growing, and it's like, it's easy to get, like that. How do you shift? How do you sort of move from one energy into the energy you want to be more effective in your business?
Yes, there are certainly times in my day that I don't feel like doing the thing. And I think that's important to share, is that's our normal. And so it's really being aware that that's normal, and creating the tools that work for you. I love Jennifer's idea of walking outside. For me, I've shared this before with you, David, is I just try to reset my state. So it could be music, just like dancing around silly, just feeling good. The thing that's always my go-to is I just call it like my appreciation station, and I just write out a whole page. I'll pick 5 things that I appreciate so much in my world, and I just write. And so I'll write things like my daughters, and I'll do like them individually. So I'll be like, Stella just makes me smile because of this, this, and this. And I'm so proud of Macy because of this. And I appreciate my husband because of this, this, and this. And I'm thankful for my team and I'll even do, like, if I'm not feeling that, because people watching the call are going to be like, oh, well, I guess your kids and your husband are perfect. So if I'm not feeling that day, then I'll just even be like, I love my new toothbrush. I love my new boots. Or I'll be like, oh, I love the delicious dinner that I found on Pinterest that I'm going to make tonight. Like, it doesn't have to be these, if there's anything that doesn't feel appreciative and it feels forced, I pick something that I can really appreciate. So it might just be like, my new banana bread shake is delicious, and I write it out, and it totally changes my flow and my frequency and my perspective. And then I just feel like I can go and be the light that I want to be.
I love the transparent. I think you've made me snort 3 times already, but Jennifer and I are laughing. It's like, I love my new toothbrush. And I was thinking, have I ever made your list?
So great.
Let's move. Before we tie the bow on an event, is there any kind of last message you either want to leave about events, or how someone should start, or where they can go, sort of a resource, just something to sort of tie a bow on this one? Who wants to go first?
I'd like to say something really quickly, because Krystal and I talked about this the other day. Events are amazing. They really are. But it's what you do after the events. Don't get so hung up on, going to every single event, showing up for every single call, because it's what you do after that matters. So it's taking what you learn and putting that into action. And I see it a lot where people just get so hung up on going to event after event after event, but then when it's over, nothing is getting done. So action is everything.
Yeah, it's such an important one. And people become event junkies, and it's kind of like they get caught up in the hugs and the energy and the stories, and then they go home and they just stop, right?
Exactly.
Krystal, any thoughts about events?
I love that, Jennifer, and I will add to that, that'll even happen sometimes with new business builders in my team, is they'll say, I'll say, what have you done for Isagenix this week or today? And they'll say, oh, I listened to two calls, because that's the thing in our virtual world now, we have so much information that it's a lot. And so really, like 2 hours of listening to events or podcasts it's great for growing yourself, but it should be dispersed over the week. It isn't, I didn't do 2 hours of Isagenix today because I listened. And so it's really being clear on the difference of we attend and then we get into action. And the events are sort of, or the podcasts are really that fuel to fill us up and want to go help and talk to more people. And that's really what events mean to us. And I really think it comes from when events shifted for me was when I stopped feeling like I was a person in a team that had to go to an event because that's what we did. And I don't know if I feel like going and should I go? When I switched to, I'm building a serious business. So if somebody wants to build, $20,000 a year, $100,000, a 7-figure year income, it has to be your business has to be your primary focus. And that's what shifted for me. It was no longer, well, my leader or my team didn't tell me when this event was, so I missed it, or well, corporate didn't send me 80 emails. They only sent me 70. So I missed it. Like, it was really like, this is my business and these go in my calendar, and I am choosy about, like, in the virtual world, obviously the corporate events, I always make a priority. And then with all these extra ones, I'm choosy about where I'm putting them in, but really being the true entrepreneur and owning my schedule and taking accountability for getting my butt in my virtual seat or the event seat and showing my team that that's who they need to be.
Yeah. It's interesting. Something you said, both of you, I just want to sort of maybe tie a bow myself on this, and you can add to this part, is, when you talk about, what you do post-event. And I think about that new person who's really nervous, and I really want to keep focusing on that brand new person who's looking at us right now. Go on, give them a wave. Come on, girls, give them a wave. We can see you. All right. The law of practice is that, with an event, or the law of your story. The first week with Emily Vavra, we talked about the story template and contributing to events. So even if you're new and you're sort of finding the confidence, even by showing up, both of you said that the stories are really what excited you and took you from the world you were in to the world that you've created, which is remarkable. But volunteering your story, so you're at an event, instead of just watching it, actually sharing your story, when that story is so relatable to so many other people. So just maybe touch on that before we leave this completely, which is, the idea that you can participate through that mechanism of sharing your story. And then the idea of practice, sometimes doing an event with your team where you're sort of building the muscle versus just feeling like you're waiting to get ready and actually never crossing the bridge. What's both your thoughts and philosophies on that?
Well, mine is, you don't get stuck in fear of perfection. Do it messy, because I can tell you right now, I was really, really messy, really messy. And, by doing it over and over again, that's how we become better. So and I hear it a lot. Like people feel like they have to know everything about everything. No, you don't. You don't have to know anything about anything, really. People are buying your excitement. They're buying you, right? So get in there, do it messy, and know that over time you're going to get better. That's how we've all, as leaders, and as me myself, that's how I've become better, because I've done it so many times over and over again. So just jump in there, do it messy, and trust the process.
And be honest. I mean, messy is actually more relevant to most people. Most people, when they see someone imperfect, and perfection is another form of procrastination. But, when we see someone messy and mess up, what's the first thing that goes through our head? Oh, I could do that. But when we see someone perfect, we're like, oh, can't do that, right? Krystal, Any last words about events before we move on?
Yes, I agree. I'm messy. I'm still messy. And I appreciate so much when I hear from people that hear me speak and say in a delightful way that it was nice that I wasn't perfect, that I'm honest about. I'll even say it when I'm sharing my story. Like, I'm really nervous, and that really helps people see, like, I don't think I'm ever going to feel 100% perfect when I walk out on a stage or when I get on even a Zoom call. I'm always going to get those nerves. And so really letting that new person know that that's normal, that you're not going to be doing this for a year and all of a sudden that goes away. You just grow into the person that changes their state and gets it done. And the thing that I found the most about doing that, like stepping into sharing my story and having my team do that, is that's the best way to learn. Is if you can share your story authentically, even on a call, a small team call or wherever it starts, maybe it's a Facebook Live, then you can help someone else do that. And until you step into that, you're not a teacher. So you really have to do it before you can teach. And that's when people attract different people, is when they feel like they're a leader.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's move on. Dun, 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 dun. This part here, I know everyone's so excited about social media. It's kind of like, I know for me, I have this kind of love, dislove. I don't like the H word, but you know, just this kind of thing where it was always a little bit kind of easy for me to think, if I never did it again, I would easily take that road. Yet there are so many pleasures I get from social media as well. And there's things that happen on social media. Again, I'm not a big surfer or anything, but I know for both of you, Krystal, you and I have done a show together where, you know, one of the things you taught me was about committing and really committing. So do you want to just, should we start there? You know, about if we're going to talk about social media, what's this whole thing about commitment that you both sort of subscribe to?
So I'll go. So I find everyone, when we think about social media and we think about our business first and social media, it's going all in and being 100% that you're not just dipping your toe in. And so really deciding, this is my business and I'm in it for the next whatever. I'm going to give this a year or 2 years before I even assess, you know, if this is for me, because I know there's a learning curve and I need to give myself that time. So really committing, going all in. And then I always tell people, like, we all have someone in our social media feed. We have lots of them who post about a product a few times, maybe 2 weeks, and then they're gone. And that's always been my mission and just share with people is don't be that person. If you're going to do this, make sure you're going to be showing up in 6 months, because, you know, they'll post for those 2 weeks and they're like, oh, well, you know, Bob and Fred aren't messaging me back and no one's interested, but it's because they've all seen that happen with other companies. They've seen these hypey posts and then people sort of fizzle out. And so there really is such a consistency needed to prove to your network that this isn't a flash in the pan. And so that's what committing means to me. Yeah.
And Jennifer?
Well, the same thing, you know, if you're building on social media, you got to stay consistent. And I see it, you know, just like Krystal, I see people will post once or twice and then it's like post and pray. Nobody messages them, but they really haven't, you know, even begun to understand in social media and building on social media. So, you know, Krystal and I talked about, you know, great steps that people should take to actually start building their brand. But again, it's a commitment. It's like any other business. You got to show up. You got to show up and you got to stay committed. And, you know, you just don't stop. Just because nobody's messaging you back doesn't mean you stop, right? So you just got to keep with it.
And, you know, if we talk about the do's and don'ts, and jump in anywhere with this, I mean, because you two are the experts, I'm going to sort of guide through this. I know that for me, you know, my social media, it's some days it feels like a burden. And some days it feels so easy. It feels like, because I'm someone who shares stories, I don't try, you know, there's something in me that wants to be authentic and just share a real story. And those stories often take me a long time to write because I really think about them. And I rarely post something, I just type it down and send it. I tend to think about it and I tend to, so I actually write it in my notes and then bring it over. But can we start with some of the don'ts? I just want everyone sitting out there who's like, you know, they're started and maybe they're not getting the traction they want. But what are some of the things you are seeing on social media that just don't work?
I have one.
Okay,
I have one.
you guys
go
backwards and forwards on this one.
Okay.
Don't let your profile picture be a picture of your dog or your animal. You know, your profile picture needs to be an inviting, nice headshot of you that just portrays who you are, not somebody else, not your kids. It should be a picture of you. That's number one.
Awesome.
Yes.
I know you're going to jump in on that one, but I want to ask a question about that, because one of my frustrations when anyone comments, I always read what they say and I always comment back, only because I feel like if I'm in a real conversation, not because of social media, I just wouldn't. If you spoke to me and I turned my back on you, I think that was rude. So if someone comments, and you know what I find frustrating sometimes is I try and find their name. I'll actually click on the link, go to their profile, and because they have a funny name or they have a business name, and I can't find their first name anywhere. And now I started telling them, I said, by the way, I'm not sure what your name is. I couldn't see it. But I mean, is that like the picture is important, but is their name important as well?
Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And that happens. So Facebook, it happens less because Facebook's pretty serious about having your name on your account, but Instagram can be anything. And yeah, so it'll just be whatever their dogs' names are, right? And that can be their profile name. And so, yeah, so definitely make it clear and treat it like a business for sure. Make sure that your name is accessible. Make sure that you have a warm, inviting photo that portrays confidence. When you have a photo of just yourself, people resonate with you. They see you over and over when you're commenting. We're going to talk about that later. But so it's a reminder of who you are every time they see that little circle with your face in it. Yeah, right. So I agree 100%. The other thing is don't overthink it. That's another thing I find people do is they spend hours trying to write this perfect post. And when you think about how quickly your feed shows up and how people's attention spans are now, it's really, you're going to post again tomorrow, right? And so when you're building up a consistent posting, if it's taking you an hour to write it, post something shorter and really pay attention to.
I'm making notes.
Well, we love your stories, David, but
yeah.
For someone who's brand new in Isagenix and they're trying to make it perfect and they're trying to just pour their whole heart and soul into one post, and it's like it goes by in a blink. So make sure your image is clear, make sure people can see it. It hopefully catches their eye. It's nicely lit. And then make sure your messaging is prompt and to the point, whether you're talking about the products or the finances or just your life, because people aren't going to read the whole thing. So don't put, and again, I'll talk to people where I'm like, what did you do today? And they'll say, oh, well, I worked on my Facebook post for 45 minutes and I listened to a podcast. And really just being clear that that's not what we're doing on social media.
Right. So I'm going to keep on these don'ts. So let's just go through them. What some of these don'ts are things that, stand out that really, just aren't working. And most people don't know it. Like even the profile pictures. I got a friend who's a professional speaker. And she came over to the house for dinner the other night. I said, I got to tell you something. And I said, are you ready for some feedback? And she knows me. She's like, am I ready? She had to sort of check in because she thought I was going to go really deep. I said, look, your social media is really good. Your photos suck. Not her profile. It's just the photos she puts up are always so bad. I said, why don't you go and invest in a better phone or something like that so you can take better photos? They're always dark. I can't see them. So I just wig out with it. Anyway, so I shouldn't be doing this. So that's probably another don't, right?
Well, quality of image is good. And, with the new iPhones now, and it's an investment in your business. So I always have the latest iPhone because, they have the best cameras, I feel. And you want it to be, like Krystal said, your lighting needs to be good, and clean off your camera screen and make sure when you're taking your pictures that you don't have smudges on your camera. And if your lighting needs to be adjusted, you can adjust your lighting. If it's too dark, you can adjust it. But good quality images are good. You don't have to go out and pay a professional. You can do so much with these new phones today that, there's no reason why you should be throwing up, bad images.
Right. Krystal, we're just going to go through the don'ts.
And I will add, don't be afraid to play around with taking photos. I'm thinking of that new person And I remember when I first started, I just felt so silly taking a photo of myself. Like, I was like, who's this for? But eventually it just becomes part of your habit, you know? So if you're feeling great today, if you actually got to shower, maybe you've got little kids at home like me, and you're feeling good, take some photos, whether you think you're going to use them today or not. So that's one thing. And don't be afraid to ask your friends and your spouse to take photos of you, because they will if you ask them.
I'm so glad I'm not your husband. I watch the plethora of photographs. I thought, does he do anything else but take photographs of you? Actually,
my husband won't take any. He takes none of me. Like, if we're on vacation, well, I'm like selfie queen. So I'm just like, you know, taking selfies a lot, or I'll set it up outside, or, you know, at the gym or something like that. So yeah, totally. But asking people to do it, I mean, they'll do it if you just ask them.
They will. And be creative, like prop it up on a tree. I've done that. And so use your timer and just be creative and be clever, and really just seize the moment if you're feeling good and you think you can get a photo. Because I know that'll stop some people where they think, oh, what am I even going to post? You can think of a quote or something to write later, but you really have to start with having the images, because that's how social media works. And so just making sure you have the images. I call it a photo bank. So sometimes I post in the moment, like if it's my kids or something cute that I capture, but often I'll think of a post to write, and then I'm like, oh, I've got my photo bank of these photos that I've taken that are usable and quick. So again, I'm not taking an hour to be like, well, now I got to go get the perfect picture. And it just is more seamless having those photos on hand. And that really was a learning lesson in the beginning when I was a new mom and I was not looking, you know, photo ready all the time. And it really stressed me out. And
that was subtle. I wasn't photo ready. Little mom of two kids. But something I've learned, which maybe would help. I don't know, because I'm probably more of a novice compared with you two. But I using the favorite button, when I see a photo that I do like, I just push favorite. So when I do want to go look for a social media thing, I have all my favorites in there together, and it just seems easier than trying to scroll through.
That's exactly what I do. I do that exact thing. Yep.
Absolutely. See, you're a pro.
Okay, let's carry on. What's some of the other don'ts? What's some of the other don'ts that people should be considering with social media right now?
So we talked about this, Jennifer and I, and the main thing is to not be an Isagenix billboard where you're only talking about Isagenix, and you've gone from being this person that maybe doesn't post very often to all of a sudden it's before and afters, and it's this product in someone's face. And so you really want to portray a story like we share at events, right? Like you want to portray this story and be authentic and have people connect with you. And they don't really care about a picture of Ionics, you know, it's not as powerful. And so really weaving in those Isagenix posts with your lifestyle.
Yeah. Jennifer?
Exactly. Same thing. You just want your social media to be very balanced and not all, you know, because I know I scroll through and I see, you know, pictures of people's before and afters every single post, and that turns me off, you know, and I know if it's turning me off, it's turning others off too. So it's really about just being yourself, being authentic, being real, and, you know, putting out what your interests are. And if it's your family, if it's your faith, your things that you love to do as hobbies, if you're a golfer, you know, whatever you do, but keeping it really balanced and just tossing in, you know, Isagenix post every once in a while.
Yeah.
About great before and after, or you know, a success story, or someone in your upline or downline that has had, you know, some kind of success story. That's always really good too. Just not all product posts are the worst. When it's just a picture of a product, I mean, that's, you know.
Can I say one other thing? I noticed there's a friend, in fact, we all know this woman. I'm not going to mention her name, but recently, over the last few months, she's posting a lot of pictures that look identical. They're all different, but they're all very close up. And I've noticed that I just started swiping. Well, I used to comment because I really like her a lot, but I kind of got numb to the same feel. And I kind of and I find myself like, oh yeah, not another one like that. And yet I haven't told her this yet. I often end up telling people the truth, my personal truth. Is that kind of a don't as well? Like, you know, like if it kind of looks the same and you always kind of act cutie with your lip burst. I mean, is that... I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just, well, I don't do that, but I should try it. Maybe it'll
Variety. So variety is key. And that's in a fast-paced world, in our microwave society, as it's called, people are like, scroll, like, give me something exciting. Like, our brains are so used to the same thing. And so, yeah, so really mixing up your images and yeah, like, so maybe you have a selfie and then maybe you have one of you sitting because you propped up your phone, or just bringing in variety. And I think about that, one visual that really helped me when I was first starting was, think of a magazine. Does anyone remember those? And so,
what the hell's a magazine?
So you're flipping through a magazine and it's like value, a recipe, a beautiful photo, and oh, look, a purse I want to buy. And then it's like an article with value and a beautiful image and maybe a beautiful beach photo. And then, oh, look, a skin lotion I want to buy, right? So it's variety, and the advertisements, so to speak, are more like 20%, right? And the value is 80%.
Awesome.
Value is everything. Value is everything. If you can, have people receiving value from your post, you're going to create a following. And it really is. The value is everything.
Yeah. Well,
how do they feel? How do they feel when they see you on social media? How do they feel when they read your words? Is it authentic, and are they receiving value from it?
The authenticity piece I want to get to, but I think the value piece is something those new people, or someone who's just starting out, who's got 7 followers or 32 followers, and they're really like posting, but nothing sticking. How do they start to understand what value is? Because I think I understand, which is the value would be that just authenticity and what real life is. But some other people may be thinking value is that I've got to go get a scientific data, or I've got to research something. Or so define value for the new person so that they can get it. So that if they're a mom and they don't feel their life's very interesting right now, and they don't think they've got a lot to contribute, how do they still offer value to their social media posts?
So like if it's a mom of 2 kids, just a tip that she has learned, by being a mom, and maybe it's, some places that she likes to take her kids, or, a great recipe that her kids love, or, some kind of fun playtime. So that's what I mean. Or if it's not a mom, and, just something, inspirational messages are what I really started with 9 years ago. And I found that I enjoyed that. And, I've been staying very consistent with that. So that's what's worked really well for me and just getting better. And again, knowing that it's going to take time, and if you have 7 followers, I would say start with building your network on Facebook. And that doesn't mean go out and friend 100 people, because you will be thrown in Facebook jail. I have, and you don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, because Facebook has really cracked down. And so I would say, 5 people a day, and it's going to require that you're spending a little time on social media each day. Not a lot, but you got to build that into your day so that you are building your network, and it will start to grow. But you have to stay consistent, and you have to know that it is a process. If you are brand new to social media, it's going to take time for you to learn, and that's okay, because you can learn it. I've learned it. Krystal's learned it. A lot of people have learned it. But there are, do's and don'ts. They go along
and
with
Jennifer,
that. And
you said something, sorry interrupting, but you said something there which struck me, that maybe it's not just when sort of posting a value, it's also adding a value. Then if you're going to reach out to people, or, it means that you are going to read about them or look at their post and add a comment, which is another way of adding value if it's sincere. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and when you're reaching out and when you're making those connections, for me, it's about sending a voice message. I'm really, I love voice message. I love for people to hear my voice. I do birthday messages every day. So that's a great tip. If you guys aren't using that, Facebook tells you when all of your Facebook friends are having a birthday, and it's really powerful for them to hear a voice message from you on their birthday. And I can tell you there's a lot of people on my team today because I started doing that 9 years ago, and I remain very consistent with that. So, just authentically connecting with people and staying consistent using social media. So keep building your list, stay consistent, reach out to new people that, that you feel like you want to connect with. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Krystal?
So when I'm thinking of value, I think of how's someone going to feel when they come to my page. Or back in the day when I would say go to a wedding and meet someone, what is she going to think when I Facebook friend her or find her on Instagram? Like, what is the message that I'm bringing? And so and value is different for everyone. And I think that's where people get caught up, is they think they have to be like an expert, whatever, to share. And so when I'm posting, I think different topics, like, is it going to inspire people? Then I'm going to post it. Is it going to engage my audience or my friends? And again, I say audience, but it could be your 4 friends. Are you asking a question that people are going to engage with? I love to share funny stuff. That's really, in my stories, I just always share my goofy kids, and I have so much fun with that. That's really natural for me. Is it interesting? So, and we talked about, Jennifer and I, we were talking about our don'ts. Interesting doesn't necessarily mean like high topic, like politics and religion. Like that's a don't, because that's going to create more negativity in your space and more arguments. And so when I think about interesting, I think about like, I still remember one time I was traveling. I'm telling a lot of old fashioned stories here, but I was traveling and I was at a hotel, and I figured out that I could take the yucky hotel coffee out of the bag and put my Isagenix coffee into it and put it into the coffee pot and like make a good coffee in a hotel. And that was interesting for so many people. I got so many messages and comments. So it's like something you learned that's interesting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a report about, the zebra. Like, it just has to be like what's interesting in my day. Things that make people feel good, posting about your family. Like, if you just go for a nice lunch and you take a selfie, people love to see that because it makes them feel good. And so that's all like value. One of the things that I love for people to do is ask yourself or ask 3 close people, what am I really good at? Because for me, it's hair and makeup is something that my network told me. And I was like, well, that has nothing to do with Isagenix. Thanks a lot. But it's actually better to share things that have nothing to do with Isagenix, because if I'm only talking about Isagenix, I'm only going to get people who are on health and wellness journeys or already in Isagenix following me. And so that's really grown my network, is doing value I'll do like a hair tutorial or a makeup tutorial, and sharing that will bring in people who wouldn't have followed me for Isagenix. And so I have girls that I work with that one of them is an expert at gardening. She's taught me so much. And so she always shares the value of tips and tricks in her garden. Or I have a friend who's a great cook. And so that's fascinating to me. I want to follow that because it's teaching me something new, and I leave her page thinking value. And then so when she does post about Isagenix, I'm like, oh, I trust you. You've brought me so much value. Tell me more. So that's where the value comes in. You don't have to be like an expert at it.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah, it's great. Does when you talk about the value part, but then you mentioned so many of these other things. When I talk about, who you connect with, I mean, people have passions, whether it's knitting or gardening or, pets or whatever. How much of that, how important is that when connecting? Because I mean, that's part of what we're talking about here, and I want to dig into how you two are being able to build your business online. So we've gone through some of the do's or don'ts, but what's some of the sort of, someone's again sitting there right now and they're thinking, yeah, I'm at home, and especially today, I want to start building more online. Where do we start? What's something we can start? Say they've got their profile, they've realized that their picture maybe, needed a little work. The dog needed to come down, and a nice picture of them with good lighting came up. We've started that. What about the profile description? Is that important? Is that, and do we talk about these? Can we talk about Instagram and Facebook together, or do we have to separate them in the conversation?
We thought focusing first on Facebook is useful because most people are on there. And if you're starting somewhere, that's a really good place to start. And then we can share the differences with Instagram.
Perfect. So let's start there. So let's start them out. They've got their profile there. How do they, starting today, what's some of the things that you would suggest, or how do you approach this so they can start building their business?
So
Krystal.
I would say create your schedule. So decide you're going to post, maybe it's every other day to start, but you have to commit to something. And again, really, when you're committing with yourself, it's not every other day for the next week or until nobody doesn't like my post. It's, I'm going to do this for the next 2 years or next year, right? And really committing to that. And then I would start with posting. So you have to have a presence. People need to see your face or see your life, and bringing those things that Jennifer and I talked about. So whatever it is that's value. And we also do want to share that we share before and afters, but again, it's within the sea of everything else we're sharing. So, and we'll share education on, a little bit of education on Isagenix, and we'll also, it's really important to share our team and their successes, but it's all trickled in with the other stuff. So really creating your schedule of what you're going to post. So I like to think about my week. If I just posted a before and after, my next post is not going to be a before and after or anything to do with Isagenix. It's going to be value. So it's going to be whatever it is to that new person. Like maybe it's funny, or maybe it's going to engage your audience. Maybe you just ask them a question, or maybe it's interesting. And so you're really having that foresight of how your week's going to flow. And then if you happen to be doing something fun with your kids or your dog and you just take a cute photo, post it. And so really just having a plan for how you're going to show up and be impactful on your page. And then I would work through my current network. And like Jennifer said, leaving voice messages. So if it's their birthday, leaving them a voice memo, telling them how much if there's somebody that I spend time with, telling them how much I appreciate them. If there's someone I don't know, I'll just say, I remember when we met at such and such a place and I just love following you. Or again, if we met online, I'll say, I remember when I friended you last year, and you know, and it just organically reach out. And then I would reach out to my current network with that same style of connecting. So we chatted about this, and neither of us are, hey girl, when do you want to sign up for Isagenix in our messages? Because that's just so uncomfortable. And that's what gives network marketing a bad name, in my opinion. So I love to just connect and send a message and say, hey, Cindy, I just saw your post with your kids and you look like you're doing so well. I love seeing your face on here. How are you? You know, like it's just really, really simple, but also something that makes them feel good. Yeah. So that's always what I'm thinking. And then when I'm meeting new people, I'm strategic there. So I will go into groups on Facebook, let's say. So maybe I'm in, and I like to be as specific as possible. So, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm really interested in health and wellness. And I'm like, shocker. Like, so you're not going to join health and wellness with 80 million members. So then I'm like, okay, well, you know, what do you like for health and wellness? And we drill it down. It's like, okay, so you like yoga, and you really like kayaking, you know? And so then you would join and again, if you're a mom or a dog mom, so like you might get so specific to join a group that's like kayaking for dog moms. I just joined one. Just kidding. I don't have a dog, but you could, Jennifer, if you like kayaking.
Yeah. I just see that dog in the back of the kayak there. Before you get too far ahead, I just want to go back to the first part about your commitment. So you're saying, you know, every other day. So that would be like maybe let's say 4 times a week.
Yes.
But how many times, just out my personal interest, I normally post, if I post once a day, and normally at the same time in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning, personally. But I know I rarely do post in the afternoon, but how many times a day do you post typically? Can I ask you both? I mean, again, I know that a new person, we're talking about them starting out and possibly doing it every other day, so it's not overwhelming. But looking at you right now, how often are you posting, just out of interest? Because we've got leaders watching as well, right?
For me, on average, it's 2 times a day. And like Krystal said, you know, sometimes it's just, I just did a post earlier. I was outside with my dogs and took a cute picture, and it was just kind of an instant thing. But typically I'll post at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll try to do a post later in the afternoon. And there are some days that it's just one time a day. So it's just, I don't think that there's any right or wrong to it. Some people will say 2-3 times is too much. But you know, I just, again, I am very consistent. I do post every day. Sometimes it's more than once, and you know, sometimes it's up to 3 times. It just really depends. But for the new person, I think every other day is a good start, and it's not overwhelming where you just feel like you have to come up with a lot of content. And again, you guys, it doesn't have to be perfect. And the other thing I would add is, if there are other Isagenix leaders that you see that, you know, you really love their vibe, you love their page, follow them and emulate them. I'm not saying copy them, but just, you can learn a lot from people that have gone before you, just like I have.
Yeah, I noticed that with, and Krystal, I'm not sure who did it, but I noticed there's a particular leader that I know you're in love with, and I can see that you two post quite similar. And has she shifted her post? I noticed they've shifted with you. And I don't know who went first, but I can see that certainly there's an influence that you're saying, oh, that looks so cool. And I started doing it. So you started showing recipes and making food and all these kinds of things. Again, and I can see that. So that emulating isn't, copying is a beautiful form of a compliment as well. You know, so I love the word emulating versus copying. What about you, Krystal? How many times a day are you posting?
Yeah, and well, and I'll speak to the modeling too. Like that's a thing that I do too, is follow like bloggers or people, right? Like just anybody that has an impactful presence, or leaders in Isagenix as well, because then you get to kind of see their flow and it'll inspire you. And again, being consistent. So I've always posted I started twice a week. Or yeah, like every 2 days in the week. And then I moved it to once a day. So, and that's what I still like people that are brand new to do, because otherwise your network's watching and they're like, has a robot hacked Krystal's account? So that's why we like the sort of soft start of just like every other day, and then move it to every day. And so I'm the same. I always post once a day. And then if I find like a fun picture with my kids just happens, or if I see a funny meme or something, then I post that. And then I show up in my stories every day. So I'll usually do 5 to 10 stories every day as well.
Can we talk about the story part? Because I still haven't figured that one out. What is that? I mean, how do you use stories, and do you film them for 15 seconds? Is that, I mean, I just have this whole confusion around the whole story part. Who wants to lead me through that? Actually, I'll be the student on this one. All right, if I was going to adopt stories into my social media practice, which obviously I think you both do, what do I want to be thinking about, and how do I progress through it?
I'm going to let Krystal take that, because I'm still kind of learning stories. It's not my strong suit, but I'm learning. So let me be a student.
Well, I do know though, Krystal.
That's a great point too, is if you don't feel stories right now, Jennifer's built a perfectly wonderful business, not used, like, right? Like, so just I wouldn't get too confused with stories if you're new. I would just focus on what we talked about, like posting every other day, moving up to posting every day, and being so consistent. That's more important than mastering maybe only posting once a week, because I was so overwhelmed with stories. But so stories, I love. That's been a really fun way for my audience to get to know me. So when you think about Facebook or Instagram, it's a still photo and it's text. And people are going to read it however their day is going, right? So if they're having a bad day and you post, they're like, that's so annoying, but when you show up in your stories and you're like, hi friends, and you're yourself, they can't take that any other way. And so it's been a really nice way to connect with my friends and new followers. And I like it because it's subtle. So I can share a lot of stuff. I share the same thing I share to my feed. So I'm always sharing value. I'm sharing things that are funny. I'm educating. I'm talking about Isagenix. So instead of, sharing how much a shake makes me feel great, and in a post where I'm holding a shake, I might be in my story and I'll be making a shake and saying, can you even believe that I'm a mom with 2 young kids and I just made this delicious shake in 30 seconds and it has this, this, and this in it, and I'm going to have a good day, So it's more like not rubbing it in people's faces, how easy my morning was, but really saying like, wow, my day's been added so much value because of this shake, and then I carry on. And then another story might be me at the park with my kids, or a funny meme So it's really the same things that I'm sharing. And I'll speak more to my audience, which I wouldn't do on a feed post.
Awesome. So with you, Jennifer, stories aren't part of your strategy particularly, but you do use them sometimes. Right?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sometimes. Yes.
Okay. So here we are. Again, just sort of, we've got that new person. We understand now they're being more consistent. How does authenticity, because this is the part for me that I love, when I can feel someone and it feels real, that I feel an immediate connection. But why is it that so many feel so fake and the authenticity doesn't appear to be a part of it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like they're detached from the post as opposed to an extension of who they are. Am I feeling this right?
You are. And it's really about, them trying to be someone that they're not. And I think authenticity does come across on your social media. So be real, be realistic, be yourself. You don't try to be someone else. If you don't like to, go boating, then don't post that you love to go boating. And if you don't like to cook, don't post that you love to cook and do a bunch of recipes, because that's going to come across. So find what your passions are and build your social media around that, because then it's real and it's authentic, and that's going to come across and people are going to feel that.
Yeah. And for you, Krystal, the whole authenticity piece, I know for me, you and I have talked about this before. I think it's one of those big things for you about how realness does, like you saw about the messiness, having two girls and whatever, but I know my assistant Denise is, I shouldn't say her age, but she's a lot older than you, but she loves following you because she relates. And that's what I love about what you do, because there's this cross-generational, and I think it's the messiness. It's she loves the kids and how authentic it feels and how crazy, I think one of them particularly is, right? But so that stuff that some people would not want to show, you seem to show, and it seems to connect people who are older, people who are younger, people who are in the same situation, right?
Yeah, so that's one thing that really is not trying to be perfect. And so just sharing, whatever, if I'm having my youngest she's spirited. And so really just sharing what's happening in our lives and how things are, they're funny. She brings so much fun and joy, and sharing that, because so many other moms especially have gone through that. But I even have tons of people who don't have kids and follow me, and they're like, you make me almost want to have kids. And so, yeah, like and that's the thing is, like, most of those people I've never spoken with about Isagenix yet, right? But we have this relationship. So as we chat, or when they become ready, then I'm their girl. And that's really what I always think is, I just want to create that value and that trust with people. And then when they are ready, then I'm the person that comes to mind. And so that's what I'm always trying to portray. And with the authenticity, I think that's the thing is, we get so caught up in trying to be perfect in a photo or trying to have your story perfect. Like, I actually almost dropped my phone when I was doing a story this morning, and I posted it. So and when stories first came out, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, I don't want another thing. I don't need one more thing to worry about. Like, stop it, Instagram. But it really, because I said, I'm going to learn this, just like I learned how to post, and I can do this, just like I used to learn how to do stuff in my old, government job. I just had that mentality of, I can figure this out. And so that's what it's grown to, is rather than being like two-dimensional in a picture, people really know me. And they know that, because again, if you share a photo that looks great, then it can come off as perfect sometimes. And so I think that's created that bridge of like, I'm not just like a selfie where I had great lighting, and I actually did my makeup that day. It's like the real part of me where I have my hair in a bun, or I'm wearing sweats and I just dropped my kids off at school. So it's the two bits of it that the posts draw people in, and then the stories help them to know that authentic piece of me.
Sure.
That's good. That's really good. And I'm committed to doing more stories, because I love watching people's stories, but I just feel I feel like I'm kind of a private person. So, and I don't know what it is about like feeling like I have to do the camera in my face all the time. So, but I'm going to commit to doing it more because I think that it's, that's what people want to see. Stories are really where it's at.
I'm going to commit with you. And then Krystal, you're going to be our guide on this one. So we're both going to do it and we want some feedback to see how we're doing. All right. I'm going to start watching yours more often so I get a sense of where to start with this one. But I love to cook. I love activities. I love going out, but it's just, I don't love pulling my phone out a lot. So, and I often think this, I bet a lot of other people do too. I'll do something. I thought, you know what, I should have probably taken the photo right then. Because, it was such a good situation. And I don't like posting when I'm doing something. So typically I won't post for 3 days or 4 days afterwards. And I'll go back to the story, but I just don't like doing it and posting it at the same time because I feel so disingenuous that, I want to be where I'm at and then post, but that's just me.
And I will speak to that because I think that's important and like what Jennifer said, feeling like your phone's always there. So I always, if it's my kids or whatever, like I take a video and I don't post. So most of the stuff that I share in my stories was either recorded yesterday or earlier. So I want to be present, but I still am a mom and I'm taking photos anyways. So, I'll do a video, but then I don't post it until later. So you can have that same approach in your stories and it's still really effective.
Awesome. Let's get to what I think a lot of people need to know. And the idea of really connecting and moving offline or online or offline, I mean. So, and that's really the thing where we talk about building a business. We talked about, and again, if we've missed some stuff on the do's and don'ts, you can add that in there as well. But this whole idea about really connecting with someone, again, if we think of it through a do's and don'ts kind of lens, are there things that you want to just stipulate for people about this? Don't do this, but if you really want to connect with someone to bring it offline, and how to bring it offline is also what we want to go into. But talk to me about sort of the connecting part where someone feels a real genuine connection and not just like you're trying to, put your hand in their pocket and grab their credit card. Anyone want to go first?
I can go. Or you want to go first?
I was just going to say,
go ahead, Jennifer.
let's just say that it's like a before and after picture. And somebody messages you, in the comments and says, what is it? Then I always go into that comment and I let them know that I'm going to send them a PM, a private message. So then when I go into a private message with them, I'm excited and I do a voice message and I say, hey, Dave, it's so great to meet you. I'm so excited that you're interested in learning more. I would love to, share more about what I'm doing with you. When do you have 5 minutes to chat? So it's taking it offline really quickly, or maybe somebody says, okay, how much is it? You'd never want to go back and forth in messaging with cost, all the details. You want to take it offline very quickly and get on the phone with someone.
Awesome. With that direct message, if you direct message someone, and for you really old people that don't know what we're talking about, go into Google and type in, how do I direct message? And it's going to tell you, because that's what I had to do. Right. But Jennifer, talk about that, direct message. Let's say you do direct message, you don't hear anything. What's your approach then? Because I'm sure that happens where you don't get a direct response, or sometimes people direct message me and I don't check that part of my feed for sometimes a couple of weeks, and I say, oh, I'm so sorry, I just never see this, right? But how do you approach that when someone's not answering you right away?
Well, it's a little bit difficult, if they're not seeing your message, if they don't have Messenger or something. So if that's the case, then I would go back into their comment and I would tag their name and say, hey, so-and-so, did you see my message? So that they would know to go into their Messenger and check the message. But yeah, that doesn't typically happen. That doesn't happen for me a whole lot, but I'm sure it probably does happen.
But you definitely want to move it from the world to the DM, and because you like using voice, they're already hearing you, and that voice part does play a role for you, right? As far as a real connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. and because you hear the nuances, you hear the distinctions of language, right? All those different things that make up language. But, and Krystal, you want to jump in on this one? How are you kind of moving someone from that online? Is it just from a comment that you move online, or are you targeting them? How are you doing that?
So I'm the same as Jennifer. The urgency for me is key in how she shared it. And then leaving voice memos when I can is so important as well, because it portrays that urgency, and it's again, like, they feel special that I took a minute to speak to them, right? And I feel it helps get them offline sooner. So if I can't, because I know some people will have, and one of my friends, Abby O'Neill, always shares this. She's like, if you have screaming kids in the background, leave a voice memo, because then people know that you're a real human and you're a real mom. So I do try to do that more, but sometimes it's just crazy around here. And so I'll just message back, and I always portray the same message. I say, I can't wait to connect and find out about your goals. When's a good time? And I just make it about them, and I am excited and urgent. And I will, because I work in the pockets, I think it's important to share that, like, the life, and because I hear that from so many moms, especially, where they're like, well, I hate my phone because it always distracts me from my kids. So that's where, if I know I'm going to be with my kids all morning, then I say, I can't wait to connect with you. I'm available after 3 today, or whatever it is. Like, I gracefully guide them to my schedule, but still leave it open.
Awesome.
And I'm going to add to that, because, when you start to treat this like a business is when it really starts to pay you like a business. And when I started to value my schedule and value my time and schedule appointments, like you said, Krystal, I have 2:00 open today and 5:00. What time works best for you? So you give them a couple options and schedule the appointment. Don't just leave it open-ended and expect, that'd be like my husband, is a dentist. That'd be like them people saying, well, I'm just going to show up whenever. That it doesn't work that way. So give them an option and find a time and schedule the call.
That's the posture part, which I really love. And I think you both have that. Thinking for the new person again, who's kind of like got that, even sending a DM is like a big deal. They're scared. I'm sure both of you were. Like you're talking about right now, even doing a story, even posting that first photograph, I mean, we all go through this first. What's your advice to someone new who's attempting to connect, or someone's commenting, they're attempting to do the strategy, but it's not necessarily either feeling congruent or that, maybe someone's closing them down very quickly. Do you have any advice, or is there a language thing that you can help them with that helps them build the confidence to start doing this more and more?
I recommend 3-way calls. So a 3-way call with someone in your upline is really valuable, and that is going to teach the duplication, and in the process you learn, and then you don't have to be so stressed out about it. And when you're leaving a message, you could say, hey, I'd love to get you on the phone with my good friend Krystal. She is amazing. You're going to love her. I'm just getting started, but she is very, very knowledgeable. And I want to make sure that you're getting your questions answered, to the best of, to the best way possible. So I would do something like that. But again, it just depends on, if they've messaged you and they're interested in learning more about Isagenix, or if you're just connecting for the first time and you want to get to know them better. It really just depends. But if it's Isagenix related, I always recommend, jumping on a 3-way call with someone in your upline so that you can learn and you can just borrow their, enthusiasm until you get your own, or that you can borrow their posture until you can create your own.
Yeah. And that's a very important part of our profession, is that we can model, and 3-way calls is amazing for that. Krystal, again, this idea about a new person, I mean, because there's 2 parts to this. One is you're teaching them about, the consistency and building that brand and building that one muscle. It doesn't necessarily mean that the other muscle of being able to elegantly move people from the online to offline is just it's a whole new muscle, but it's one that will build with time as well, right? It's not necessarily going to happen overnight. Is that right?
That's right. And so I believe it's remaining confident and knowing that you have value. So even if you don't feel like you're an eloquent speaker or you're going to be amazing on the call yet, you know, like you're doing this for a reason, and it's because Isagenix changed your life. So you know Isagenix can change their life. So it's really knowing that you have a pot of gold in front of you and treating that like the value. And so for me, it's about, again, I think, I don't know if this is a Canadian thing, but I think it's so often people are like,
we're going to find out in a second.
It's like, oh, I'd love to connect. And whatever's good for you. Is that okay? And it's almost like you're apologizing to connect. And so really like saying like, I have this gift. Peter Kelly always talks about that. I have this box and it's a gift. Like I have this and I want to share it with you. So coming back to that value and just being excited to potentially help that person. Because again, not everyone's ready to shift their health today. Not at rate, but really just opening the door to that conversation and knowing how important it is. And being excited to practice was really important to me, knowing that I was gonna screw it up. Like, and I had to screw it up to get better. So when I think about conversations, I think about getting to know this person better, bringing a little bit of joy into their day, finding out where they're at. One system that I have that helped me with confidence is I've always used the cake recipe that Jackson Parr has on YouTube. So you can just YouTube it, the cake recipe, Jackson Parr. And it just really goes through what to say. So for me, it's kind of weird. You know, if I wasn't doing a three-way call or I didn't quite know what to say, I was nervous. So having those tools where I know I've got this in front of me, I've got these questions, and I know what I'm going to ask them really helped me with my confidence in knowing I wasn't going to get nervous and I was still going to be able to get to the reason, because we're so scared to ask people what they really want. You know, they'll be like, I want to lose 10 pounds in Messenger. And then somebody will be like, great, here's my link. I hope they buy. And you're like, you don't even know why they want to lose the 10 pounds. And like, so to me, that's not a great salesperson. That's somebody who's just trying to flog a link and get a credit card. I would rather know about the person and risk, you know, making them show up for our call and helping them step into being serious about change versus just being one more link that they saw today, because there's no value in that. There's links all over the internet, you know? So I really want to attach value to our relationship.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, you had a conversation with my son yesterday or the day before, and, you know, he's going to call you today if he hasn't already. But he's reading a book right now called Just Ask, and it's the power of asking great questions. And so as we were sort of like, when he reads a chapter, him and I just talk about it, because it's, again, you know, he's a millennial. It's not necessarily a muscle he has that he's developed. So, and I said to him today, I said, all right, after your call with Krystal, I said, I want you to tell me something I don't know about her. And I left it, we said, what? You know, the idea that this young man can learn, but it is a muscle. And I realized that with him, it's just a muscle that, you know, in the world that he's grown up in, that it's just not natural for him. He knows he likes you and he knows how you made him feel, but he's not so comfortable yet to sort of talk to you and really find out about you and your life. But it's so interesting. You know, with this part here, you know, the posture of going offline, I mean, the human element of just being yourself. And even if you're like nervous, and I think you said this earlier, you know, just showing up, because it's not like getting it right, but being curious about someone, which I always when I lead with curiosity, and that's why I love to answer in comments, you know, and really genuinely read it and leave. And even if I'm busy, I thought, you know, I shouldn't even share this probably, but typically I'll do that. If I'm going to the bathroom, I call it net time. I mean, I'm not doing anything else, so that way I can focus. I know probably you don't want to hear all that, but it just means that, so it's that's just terrible. Oh, he commented, it's like, oh. But anyway, but the idea about being human and really genuinely interested in people or asking questions, I mean, that alone for a lot of people makes them feel like they know you a little bit more, they trust you. So it's not like you're pestering. Do you want to just touch on that a little bit? Because I think some people mix that up. I'm selling. Well, they're only selling if in the back of their mind, they're trying to get some product into that person's body versus trying to get to know them. Can you talk about that distinction about maybe letting go of Isagenix sometimes? It's not like the reason you're doing everything is to try and get someone's credit card. Either one of you.
So when I'm taking it offline, I genuinely want to get to know this person. And I authentically want to know what they're going through, like how their life is, what they're struggling with. So that's where asking questions is so key. But I know a lot of times we can ask a question and then we can just keep talking, because I've done it, especially in the beginning, just talking over them. And it's so important that we're asking a question and that we're intently listening to what they're saying, because people love that. They love to be heard. And it's important that we become better listeners, on this journey.
Yeah. Awesome. As we talk about taking offline, the other one I want to just sort of touch on before we get to, we don't have too long left, but I know some of this last stuff is so important, but we're talking as if the person's commented and we're responding to a comment, but there's building a business online, which is actually going out and commenting or joining groups. And I just want to talk about that, about, what's the strategy that we have to keep building those 5 new contacts a day? I know you touched on it, Krystal, but I think we should go into the weeds a little bit. And how do we move that conversation from connecting, being a part of a new group, let's say, and then bringing that offline? What's some of your experience with that?
So I'll just carry on from that. So I've joined the group Kayaking for Dog Moms. And, right, it's a specific.
By the way, you really are funny. I guess. Isn't she great?
And so I'm in this group because the reason I want to get so specific, and so you can work with yourself or your team and be like, what do you love? Like, what do you talk to your friends about? And so, because those are my people, right? Like, I'm going to find things in common with them. And, like when I was going to Disney World a few years ago, thanks Isagenix, I joined Disney World groups, right? And moms with toddlers going to Disney World. So, so you're in there and you already have something in common, which I love. And then, so I just build upon that. So I might comment on people's posts in there, and then I'll friend them if they're engaging back with me. So I really, and I hear this so much. I hear from people that say they're really better belly to belly and they just can't connect online. And I just, in the way the world is right now, that's just not a reason anymore. Like I still feel like just because somebody's on Facebook doesn't make them less human, like it doesn't mean they need less connection. And so I come from the heart of that. Like I just want to connect and I want to make friends. And so I'll, let's say she posts a picture and it's great. I'll just comment and then I'll go and friend her and I'll voice memo and I'll say, hey, I love your post in that group and I just wanted to friend you. It really spoke so much to me and I love your vibe. And I'm from Kelowna in BC. Where are you from? Or whatever. I might talk about her profile picture. Like, I see you've got 2 kids. How old are they? And I create it just like in real life. And so I do that on Facebook. And that's the other thing I'll mention. Like, I'm always commenting because I know one thing that people do when they first join Isagenix is they make a bunch of Isagenix social media friends, and then they comment on all the people in Isagenix, and then they don't make new connections. And they're just like in this little Isagenix nest. So I always force myself to go comment before I post or after on 5 people who aren't in Isagenix. So I comment and I go spread love, and then I go connect in inboxes. So that's really what I'm doing.
So you're talking about the comment of 5, which is just building. I mean, you're not trying to get people still. And I really want to get that distinction, because you said something that gave me goosebumps. And I just want to talk about those goosebumps, because it was the idea that, that the world has changed and we may never, the belly bit, if you're using that as a reason, or let's call it an excuse, well, I prefer the belly to belly, right? Well, I prefer sending letters by mail. It doesn't matter. But the idea, I prefer telegrams. Yeah, whatever. So the idea is that the world has shifted and that this is a real connection. Just because it's social media, what you do is making a real connection. What a lot of people do, like. No, I mean, I can tell when people don't read the post. I may write a beautiful story and I get a like, or they'll make a comment. It's like I've talked about something from the heart, like so deep, meaningful, and they're like, great photo. Like, and I think, everybody read it, right? So, right? But what you're talking about, which is a genuinely human connection, and you're not saying I'm going to get them in my, you're just like, you're just meeting people, making new connections. And some of those are going to become friends who never buy from you. Some of them will just become acquaintances you may speak to once in a while. And some may become business partners. I mean, but you have, talk about that, the philosophy that you're not like disappointed that you DM someone and they didn't join your business, which I think a lot of people get into, right?
Yeah, I'm just spreading joy. And so with the commenting as well, I just think, the commenting is like a hug. How many people do we know who aren't in network marketing and they post something, and there's even been studies done, the relationship between not getting likes or comments and confidence and all that. And I just think if I'm the person that comments, they better like me, like they're gonna like me because I'm always like, I love this picture, or right. And so it's not hard. Like if you see the post, it's not hard to leave 4 words. So that's where the place I come from. And I'm very like, I'm gonna comment on 5 and then I'm gonna get to business. So I don't get stuck in the scroll hole either, where I'm like, I commented on 80 photos and I did my Isagenix today. So then I really want to intentionally connect. And so to me, that's getting into their inbox. So whether it's somebody who's already in my feed or somebody I just added, I really want to get into their inbox. And that's where I'm finding commonalities. And that's where I use FORM, which is like the acronym I've used since I've started, which is where are you from or your family. So I'm asking them about their family or where they're from. And then I'm asking them what they do. And so with that, I'm building relationship. I'm asking good questions. And usually what comes from that, like when you say, like, what do you do? Especially right now, people are like, well, I used to do this, but then I lost my job. Or so much comes from those powerful questions. And so that's always my goal, is to just connect with them and get to know them. And so if I'm connecting and someone says, well, I just lost my job, I'm not like, oh, here's my link by Isagenix, I have a solution, cleanse. I'm like, wow, tell me more about that. Like, what's going on? And do you think you're going to get another job? And did you like your job? And so I want to find out more if this is for them before I offer this solution. And I really want them to feel like I've connected and I care. And then when it feels appropriate, I'll say, you know what? I can see you're struggling and I have a solution. This is what I do. I earn a great income from home and I show others how. Are you open to learning more about what I do? And that's how it organically comes about. And then I don't look like, a spammer.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and you were here at my house with some of your team the other day, and you introduced me to one of them and said, yeah, we met online. And it's exactly, so we've taken it from a comment to a DM to them being here, to them being a business builder. But I looked at the connection between you and the establishment of that genuine connection of humanity, because there's common ground, was showing up as 2 people who really have become great friends, and not only great friends, but building something beautiful together. So I want people to get that vision. It's not just they stay on the online world, but these people do enter. Some of them will enter as just friends, right? But go back to you, Jennifer, just on this subject, because we're everything that Krystal just added. Do you want to add to that? Anything you want to comment about with that, with your own personal experience?
I just say, go into this authentically wanting to build really great relationships. Don't go into it thinking you're just there to sell them something, because that comes across. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. So don't just go in for the kill right away. Get to know them a little bit, get to really authentically know them. And something I wanted to touch on, because this has come up quite a bit. So let's say you have been on social media, you've just come into Isagenix, you're brand new, and you scroll through your page and it's a bunch of negative stuff. The nice thing is, you guys, you can clean that up. So I would really encourage you, go through your friends list, go through those people that are posting that negative stuff, that are just, Debbie Downers all the time. And the really nice thing is you can go and you can unfriend people, you can block people. My block list is a mile long. So even if you've been into Isagenix for a while, constantly go through that list. And that's the really nice thing about sending those birthday messages every day, is, let's say it's somebody who hasn't responded to me in like 2 years, and I consistently send them a birthday message. They don't even respond. Then I'm going to go look at their page and I'm going to see, is this really somebody that I want to be connected to? And a lot of times I'll just unfriend them and move on and keep that space open for someone who I really want in my network. So the other thing I want to touch on too is your page set to friends of friends? Because that's a really big deal. If you have your Facebook page shut down and it's completely private and you're trying to build a business, that's not a good idea. So you want to open your page to public. And the other great thing is if you've got posts and you pictures of your kids and you want that to be private, you can set those posts to private. But everything else, open up. You want people to see your page, your Facebook page, right? So that's a couple, key things I wanted to touch on.
I love the courage of that, because I think that, and the genuineness of that, because I mean, some of you need to do that in your real life. Is notice the Debbie Downers, or what's the male equivalent of the Debbie Downer? Is there a Donald Downer?
I don't know.
A Derek Downer? I mean, what do we call them? All right. But the idea is that, sometimes we just got to let go of people. And the way I always check in is, how do I feel when I leave someone? And I noticed that, I talked about this earlier, I think, but at my gym, everyone comes up and talks to me now, but some of them, a woman came out to me yesterday and she just said, could we go for a coffee? And she's married and she's happy and I see her kids in there. And I was like a little bit taken back. I said, what? Yeah, for sure. Why? She said, I don't know. I just like your energy. I just think we should get to know each other. And it's just like that. But I think that, if I check in with my surroundings and the people in my life, and if there is someone that really has that energy that I don't want, I can let them go too. It's not as easy sometimes just to push, block. But I like to block that energy, because my energy is really important, and who I spend time with. And then you feed off that. So if you're finding that the world's a bit dark right now, then, let's just check in who you're listening to and who's influencing you, because that's how you're showing up, right? Let's talk about, we don't have long left, but can we move on to the Penny app, just sort of maybe a tool or some of the tools that you recommend to help people with this? I don't know who wants to go on this one. Krystal, do you want to start with this one? Maybe, because we just want to give people, we're going to go from the tools to Penny app to the tools to the sort of the call to action for everyone, because I know that you're going to sort of give them some guidance. But how are you utilizing this particular tool, and why should people, what do they need to know about it to start to utilize it?
So the reason that we were chatting about the Penny app is because we didn't have it when we started, and it's gold. And so we were really chatting about how we've got follow-up lists. And so that's one thing that I do, is I always place, when I have a great connection with someone, I place them on a follow-up list. And then when somebody's asking me about the products, I place them on another follow-up list. So it's like a connection follow-up list and products follow-up list. And that's what I love about Penny, is it does that for you. So it actually, even if you don't have these lists to start, and you're not even ready to start going and connecting in Facebook groups or on Instagram, I will add, if you wanted to do the same thing on Instagram, just to show you how simple the transition from the apps is you could just go search the hashtag kayaking with dogs. Does that make sense? Like, it's the same thing. And that's how I use that skill on both apps. But so back to the Penny app is, if you're not ready to go there and do that, Penny will actually show you who to connect with every day. It'll say, go talk to this person. So if you're not quite sure where to start, we really wanted to mention that, as it's just so genius how it's built in there. It'll say, go connect with these 3 people or these 5 people. And you can just go to their page. And that's what I would do. I would just look at their page, because it's someone already in your network. It won't connect you to strangers. And so I would just go to their page and I would see their last post or maybe their profile photo. And I would just voice memo them and say, hey, I use their name. Hey, name, I just saw your profile photo and I can't believe how big your kids are getting. I just wanted to say hi, and I'm thinking of you, and how is everything going? Are you, and I might say, are your kids in school right now? So I'm just picking up the conversation like we're old friends. And that's one connection done. And then I would move on to the next person.
And you have 5 as your number, like you're talking about, when you're looking about the business approach to your connecting. So is 5 your magic number, 5 new connections?
5 new connections a day. Yeah, that's always been, and I've loved speaking with Jennifer about all this because we both realize that. We both have these consistent approaches that really aren't that off the wall. Like it's just daily practices that we've done. So yeah, it's always been 5 new connections, and of course following up with the message and getting to know the person. I just don't randomly friend 5 people, but I'll be like, connect and voice memo 5 people a day.
Okay. Is there any other number in your business approach, like with your social media? Is there like, so you're doing 1 post a day, you're doing 5 connect on, say a maximum for you, Jennifer's 2, but sometimes, but then five connections, but are follow-ups, are they part of that, or is that part of your 5, or is there another 5 follow-ups? Or
I do 5 follow-ups also.
Okay.
And again, that's because I've been connecting for a long time. So my follow-up list is quite large. And my follow-ups don't look online like, hey, are you ready to start Isagenix or what? It's very much like, I just go back and I say, I've been thinking about you. How have you been doing? I just saw you post your class pictures of your kids. So cute. And how's your week or something, right? Like
so you're following up, which I love the distinction again, you're following up on the relationship and the build of that relationship. Jennifer, do you want to add anything to this, the Penny app and the follow-up and your structure of numbers?
Well, I want to just say that the Penny app is brilliant, especially for new people. I have been doing what Penny has us doing since day one. So I don't really use Penny as much as, maybe a new person would, because I just am in the habit of doing what I do daily. But I do I connect with at least 5 people a day. And because I have my Facebook group, I'm getting them into my Facebook group a lot of times because they're messaging me now. And that will happen if you are consistent. People will you'll go to your inbox and then you'll see people wanting to know more about what you're doing, whether it's product, business, both. But it takes time to do that. So use that Penny app. And the other really great thing is you can set it. Like if you want to go, I don't know if they call it like slow or fast, but you can go as slow as you want during the day, or as, let's say freight train, if you want to go fast. I like to do everything fast. So, I would say, especially in the beginning, don't go slow, go fast. It's a lot more fun if you go fast.
By the way, your awards would say that. I just looked at your awards. I'm going to read them out just so you know who you're talking to here. Isagenix Woman of the Year 2020, Top Enroller, number 3 Recruiter, Founders Award, Momentum Award, Business Builder Award, Leadership Growth Award, and Spirit of Isagenix Award. I'm just saying that's a lot of, so we're not talking about someone who says, you do the do. And what I love about that is that what this kind of series is bringing leaders on who do the do. They understand a special area, and this is an area you both understand. Obviously, there are probably pieces that people are still maybe confused about. So if you have questions, hopefully you can ask them, or we can come back to those. But let's talk about a call to action, because it's not. You said it earlier, Jennifer. It's not what you do now at an event. This is an event. It's what we do post-event. So what is, and you can go through them, what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that you would love them to do? You listening right now, this is your call to action. So remember, going back to Jennifer's word, and if you want to have, and remember, I think about this. I think about what the story you just heard, that the 2 women who've been able to create the freedom that they really want. And if you want that, then we're going to have to do the actions. And if you're brand new and you're a little bit nervous and scared, that's great. You're going to be building and practicing and growing this muscle and you're going to be messy. And if you're someone who's stuck right now, maybe you're a leader who's started building and you got a little bit stuck, or you got distracted with what's going on in the world and you're in a little bit of a dip right now, guess what? You're not going to think your way out of it. You're going to act your way out of it, right? So why don't I start with you, Krystal, first, and maybe you can just share what is a call to action? Where do we want people to go? What do we want them to do post-call, post-event?
So I will speak about one more tool. It's the income producing activities log on isagenix.com and isagenixbusiness.com. And that's, again, one thing that
say it one more time, just slowly.
isagenixbusiness.com, and it's called the income producing activities log. And it's just a piece of paper that has, again, it's got like if you're part-time or if you're full-time. So it really mirrors the Penny app, but it's a paper. And so that's just one tool that, again, we're so grateful for. And we know that any new person could print this and get into action and be successful if they did this every single day. So that is just another gift from Isagenix for us that we love.
Well, and your first call to action, print that sucker off.
Print this off and get to work. Pick your speed. And like Jennifer said, you know, freight train all the way. And but I love part-time too, if that's what meets your life. And so that's number one. And then the other one is we wanted a call to action around events. So that is find a corporate team call or a corporate call or a team call that's happening and plug into it, or create your own with that Isagenix slide deck and practice and present it that we talked about. That's on isagenixbusiness.com, and invite a minimum of 10 people to the event that you choose. And so get out of your comfort zone, invite those 10 people, and then follow up with them after the event. So practice your skills on urgency and excitement and promotion, and then follow up with them after the event.
Awesome. And Jennifer?
So, you know, I want to talk about building on social media again. So my call to action would be, let's go look at your Facebook page and let's see how you're showing up. Are you showing up like the leader you want to attract? Do you have a really clear, good headshot? Is your timeline photo good lighting? And then remaining consistent, you know, getting your posting schedule together and what that looks like. Like, don't get overwhelmed with it. You want to prepare and plan your week on what days you're going to post, what time, what kind of content you're going to post, and stick to it. And like Krystal said, don't just do this for a week, you guys. You're going to have to commit to the process. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to build that following and create a brand and build those connections. So just be patient in the process, and know just because nobody's commenting, that doesn't mean they're watching. Trust me on that.
Doesn't mean they're not watching.
Doesn't mean they're not watching.
Yeah.
If you're posting, let's say nobody is showing up, nobody's commenting, you keep doing the do. Keep doing the do, keep doing the do. And it, as you know, as I've heard before, chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. Keep on doing it.
Yeah, that's the old saying, right? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Krystal, I've got a final question for both of you. But Krystal, anything else on the call to action? Anything?
So one more call to action is just like Jennifer said, you're getting your profile ideal, you're getting your posting schedule on track, and then the last one is don't just be a post and prayer. So get out and connect. So we challenge you to go make 3 to 5 new connections every single day. So find new people and go meet them and send them a hello message.
Now, I just want to sort of, if someone's brand new and they have a full-time job and they've got kids and they've chosen to have, let's say we got the 2 different people, someone who only has a short amount of window per day. Is it possible, and someone who has more? I mean, everyone chooses their speed. Is that 3 to 5? I just want that new person who says, hey, really, I've only got 30 minutes a day that I'm working. Do you still want that 3 to 5, or is it different for that new person versus that? What's your thoughts? Because I know people are like, oh, well, you don't understand. I'm so busy. But what's your thoughts?
That's a really good clarity. So a new person that's part-time that only has half an hour to an hour, 3 connections. That's your challenge. And I would choose to connect before I post, even if that's what I'm finding. Like if I had to prioritize, I'd be in inboxes before I'd be doing another fluffy post. I'd want to do both, but that's just to give people the importance of the connection. And then so the person that's closer to 2 hours a day to work their business, then it's 5. And like Jennifer said, 10, you know, like that's what she did. If you want to go fast and you have a couple hours, then make it 10 connections a day.
Awesome. Jennifer, before the last question, anything you want to add? Call to action, you all good?
No, Krystal covered it. That's exactly what I was going to say. A minimum of 3. Minimum of 3. I mean, everybody has time to connect with 3 people a day.
Right. For my final question, Krystal, I'm going to start with you. I want you to think about the 3 types of people listening right now. Give them a wave. Come on. We're watching you. Thank you. All over the world. Brand new person, hasn't really started yet. they're kind of very, very new. They're about to take their first step. Maybe they've had a product experience, but they're thinking about this as a business, but they really haven't taken a step yet. A person who's taken a step, and they're sort of like they're starting. They're doing the do, but they're early. They're early in the journey, and they're maybe thinking about quitting. They've already had a few rejections, and it feels harder than it was before they started. So there's that starting person. There's that person who's maybe, the reality seems a little harder than it is, or that leader who's got going and maybe they've plateaued or dipped right now, and they're in a funk. And so I want to think about those three, and I just want a final message from both of you. So Krystal, starting with you. Again, I'll remind you again, a brand new person just starting out, just about to take the first step, somebody who's taken some steps and thinking about quitting because it just seems hard, and that other person who's maybe in a funk. They've started building, and they're starting to lose their way a little bit because they're in a funk. Any thoughts?
Okay, so no pressure. So the brand new person, I want to tell you that you have struck gold and that you're right. And what's in your heart is true. And if you have a vision for something bigger for your life, then you need to believe in yourself. It's in your heart for a reason. And Isagenix is 100% the vehicle that will do that for you. So run with it and commit to consistency every single day and not quitting. And believe that you're not the leader you want to be today, but you're going to grow into it, and give yourself that time and that grace. And then the person that's taken a step and they're thinking of quitting is like heavy on my heart, because we both know I was there so many times. And I will tell you, I thought about quitting, and I'm just so happy I kept going. And so one of the quotes that I live by is, don't quit, just rest, and I share this with my team a lot. Like, sometimes when you're driven and you want things to happen today and they're not, it's so easy to just like take that vision away from yourself and be like, I didn't want it anyways, whatever. I'm going to go back to my cubicle. Take that, Krystal's future. Because it's like, in that moment, it feels like relief, and so I so relate to the people that feel like quitting. And I really, really urge you, keep going. And the storm is always darkest before the dawn. Is that I don't know.
Before the light.
Every time I've hit a wall and I've wanted to quit, I've always, within the next 2 to 3 months, had a miracle in my business. I've brought in a brand new business builder. My income's doubled, or whatever's happened. And so just don't walk away. Like, you have nothing. Why would you ever quit this? Even if you just rest for a week, don't quit. And then to the leader who's been rocking it and feels like they've plateaued, I would say that's so normal. I feel like I've had plateaus, and I know we've talked about this, David, where it's like we think everyone's just like a rocket to the moon, and we're balancing growing ourselves, growing teams, growing families, and we're not a corporation, we're a human. So it's normal to have success, and then that's been my growth anyways. It's like, okay, boom, I had success. My first goal was staying at home with my daughter, and I hit it, and then I sort of plateaued for a bit, and I was like, okay, I'm comfortable. I figured out those things, and I was like, no, now I want to get to this next star. So I had to drive myself to become that new level of leader and new level of me that would achieve that new goal. So it's constantly not beating yourself up if you feel like you're in a plateau, because that gets you nowhere fast, but knowing that's normal, and then deciding that you've done it before and you can damn well do it again with a new focus. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Jennifer, last words to you, those three groups. What would you like to share with them before we close this puppy up?
So for a brand new person, I just have to say, I'm super excited for you that someone shared this with you, because it can be completely life-changing for you. And know that it is a journey, and we all came in right where you are. I did, Krystal did, we all come in exactly where you are. And it feels maybe, weird or just like scary a little bit. You don't know how to do this, but just trust the process. Use these things that Krystal and I have shared with you and that other leaders have shared, and commit to the process and do it every single day, and know that you're going to get better. I mean, every master was once a disaster, including me. So it is very true that if you keep doing this and you commit to that process, it will be such a beautiful thing. And to the person that's been in for a while that just thinks about quitting, like Krystal said, don't stop, slow down maybe so you can speed up. Just take a little break, but stopping and quitting or getting sidetracked by something else, you got to keep those blinders on and focus on why are you doing this? Why would you want to quit? We've all had those moments where you feel like nothing is happening, but you got to keep the main thing, and keep the focus on what you're doing and why you are doing this. Because there's always going to be things that try to pull you here and there and everywhere. So keep the main thing. And for the leaders that have been in, that feel like they have reached a plateau, I want to encourage you to go inward and ask yourself, are you doing those things that made you successful in the first place? Are you really doing those things? And if you're not, again, go back to those things that made you successful, that lit you up. Because I hear from, other leaders that, they've stopped doing those things. And it's real important that we're still doing the do daily. Spend 80% of your time prospecting and enrolling, the rest of the time growing, connecting, doing all of the other stuff. So that's what I have.
Ladies, it's been a joy. It's a lot, and for me, it went so fast. It's just so much good stuff. So thank you so much. You know how much love I'm sending to both of you, and I can't wait to be hugging you both again. Krystal, we just had one, but Jennifer, it's been way too long.
Virtual hug.
Virtual hug. Here we go to everyone out there. Ciao, everyone.
Thank you.
What can I say? As promised, ladies are brilliant. Remember, again, it's not what we do here, it's what we do post. So again, for some of this, you may want to go back, listen to the recording, isolate the areas that you want to work on personally and re-listen to it, start teaching it, start duplicating it. All right, this is a resource. It's not one just to start listening to other things. These ladies have created the success you're looking for. So really master those nuances. Don't skip over them. It may be one tiny thing. Remember, I've been teaching for years the 1% rule, which is if we can get 1% better, that's it. One tiny percent. So if each week you're able to take 1% and add it and master it. It's not just doing it, it's teaching it, it's duplicating it. So again, go back and do that. What can I say? Week 6 coming up with the incredible Zach Schloben and Lindsay Wainia. This is really sort of to tie a bow on this, but this is really about the art of duplication, which is the key, is how to duplicate yourself. And understanding that, really about time management and goal setting so that we know what's coming next. We want to set that in motion, and really understanding how to lead. What's the actions of a leader? What the actions you can take, and there's not many of them that will allow you to create what you're looking for. The legacy will allow you to create the freedom, choice, time, and really to be able to help others do the same. So we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for staying in there. And I understand, again, these are long, but remember, it's your job to extract exactly what you need and to take it into your business, in your life. We'll see you next week, and we'll definitely see you on the other side.